The first is concerning the Copyright and Neighbouring Rights Act. This law was enacted in 2005, and at that time, the Minister of Justice was required to consult with the Registrar General of Companies to establish a collecting society. Since that time, the society has not been established, and the failure by government to establish the society has occasioned grave injury to the performing arts, the designers, the authors, the playwrights, the musicians. Piracy in the industry has gone to impossible levels. The actors in the industry have suffered a lot of loss over time. And on more than 2 occasions, I have spoken from this chair and appealed to the government to establish this society, or in any other way ensure that the law is being implemented. I was in Ottawa last week for the meeting of speakers and presiding officers, and one of the Ugandans, a young man who produced the film, there's a film on Konyi, and I think I also informed you about that, met me there and said nothing has happened in relation to implementing this law. And people continue to come to me, the musicians have come, the actors have come, everybody has come and brought petitions, and nothing has happened. And yet you find that the president spends a lot of time with the comedians and musicians, but their industry is not being protected. So I would now like to know from the Minister of Justice, when will you activate Section 82 of the Copyright and Neighbourhood Rights Act? It's very important. I've asked this question before, but I think I'm giving you 1 week to come back to this House and inform the country. When will this law come into effect? When will you establish the collecting society so that the artists and innovators can be protected? The second matter, honour members, has to do with the Nguli Manufacture and Licensing Act. The object of this legislation was to regulate the manufacture, licensing, and sale of Nguli. You may be aware that the sugarcane growers will be allowed to add value to sugarcane, and it might involve jaggery. Under the Nguli Manufacture and Licensing Act, Section 13, unless one has been licensed by the minister, it's an offence to manufacture jaggery. Such a license must be issued through an area licensing board, and I want to know whether we still have area licensing boards throughout the country. The license they give you must specify the maximum quantity that you're allowed to manufacture. It requires you to make a return to the minister how much jaggery you have manufactured. You can imagine. You report the minister how much jaggery you have manufactured. The law is there. So I want to know from the minister, is the Nguli Manufacture and License Act still in force? If it is, can the minister tell us where the area licensing boards are, so that the people of Uganda can know that they still have to go and get a license to manufacture jaggery? And also, in this era of liberalization, should really the jaggery industry be regulated by the government? So, Minister, I'm also giving you 1 week to come back and give us a response to that issue. The third one is to alert members and the country about the numerous Ponzi schemes. These are schemes where people tell you that you put in money for 1 week, you earn double. The following week, you earn triple. I've heard in the last 2 weeks, petitions of people have lost over 20 billion shillings. One group in Kampala, they are who have just left my office now. They lost 10 billion. Oh. Yes, Ponzi. And some many responsible people also lost money. Unfortunately, when I called the minister the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, because we got a license from the Microfinance Regulatory Authority. They had a license for non-deposit taking, but now they're collecting money, doing additional agreements, and they really took money, very serious money. So I want to warn members, please alert yourselves and your electorate. Anyone who says they'll give you a lot of interest very quickly, that should really raise questions in your mind that there's a problem with that scheme. So please, honourable members, be careful and please inform your constituents so that they're not. It's really sad. There's a young man who came, he was going to get married, he came with his license from All Saints Church, a clearance from the medical that he has no HIV, neither has his wife. He put in 59 million shillings and is marrying in March. Wanted to get more. Another one, a retired police officer, put in all his benefits, 140 million. He was sitting there in my office crying. Another one put in 200 million. Then there was one of 500. I didn't want to hear now. So it's quite serious. So please, honourable members, be really cautious. Honourable members, in our meeting of the speakers in Canada, one of the things we discussed to improve legislation is the Bills Digest. For some time, I've not seen a Bills Digest in this House. It is really a brief statement about a particular bill to help members when they are contributing in the House. So I'm directing the clerk to start now presenting a Bills Digest for the members. It can be put on their iPads so that they are able to get a quick summary of what the bills are about.